What if the so-called golden age of Hollywood wasn't golden at all? What if behind the dazzling gowns, champagne smiles, and flashing cameras, the stars we worshipped were living lives stitched together by lies? Imagine a world where marriages were staged, childhoods were rewritten, and entire identities were erased just to sell a fantasy. This wasn't just show business. It was myth-making at the highest level, and the price of keeping the illusion alive was often heartbreak, betrayal, and scandal that could destroy even the brightest star. Let's step behind the velvet curtain and take a closer look. Because the Hollywood of yesterday wasn't just glamorous, it was dangerous. Marilyn Monroe, the icon built on pain. Everyone thinks of Marilyn Monroe as the ultimate bombshell. The platinum hair, the sultry voice, the iconic white dress blowing over a subway grate. But Marilyn's story was never just about glamour. Before she was the world's most photographed woman, she was Norma Jean Mortensen, a little girl who never truly had a home. By the time she was 16, Norma Jean had been shuffled through more than 10 foster homes, each one leaving its own scar. To escape being sent back to an orphanage, she married the boy next door. It wasn't love, it was survival. And the breathy voice that would later make her famous, that wasn't an act. It came from childhood trauma, a stutter she trained herself to mask by speaking slowly and softly. Hollywood saw her vulnerability and packaged it as desire. She became Marilyn Monroe, the ultimate fantasy woman. But the truth was darker. 3 marriages ended in heartbreak. She leaned on pills and alcohol to get through the nights, and her closest friends often got desperate late-night calls, begging them just to stay on the line so she wouldn't feel so alone. By the summer of 1962, Marilyn's private struggles had become impossible to hide. At 36, she was found dead, a mix of pills and despair silencing her forever. Her story wasn't just tragic. It was proof that Hollywood built icons out of pain, then abandoned them when they crumbled. But Marilyn wasn't the only one hiding a secret. Some stars had to invent entire lives just to survive. Rock Hudson, the secret that could end a career. In the 1950s, no one represented the ideal American man more than Rock Hudson. Tall, broad-shouldered, and impossibly handsome, he was the kind of actor both men and women admired. On screen, he played the charming bachelor or the devoted husband. Off-screen, however, Rock lived in fear. Hollywood at that time was merciless to anyone who didn't fit the image. Being gay was not only taboo, it could end your career overnight. So when rumors began swirling in 1955, his agent went into full crisis mode. The solution? A marriage, not for love, but for optics. Rock wed his secretary, Phyllis Gates, and for a while, the world believed the illusion. But behind closed doors, Rock was living a double life. Dates had to be arranged in secret. Friends had to cover for him constantly. Every day was a careful balancing act of charm in public and truth in private. For decades, he carried this burden. Then, in 1985, everything changed. Rock Hudson announced he had AIDS, becoming the first major celebrity to go public with the diagnosis. In that moment, the Hollywood facade cracked. The heartthrob America had adored was finally allowed to be real. And while it cost him everything, it also made him an icon of bravery in a way no movie role ever could. But not all secrets were about love. Some were closer to home, hidden in the very families stars thought they knew. Jack Nicholson, the family secret no one saw coming. Jack Nicholson was already a Hollywood legend by the late 1970s. With roles in films like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Chinatown, he was known for his rebellious charm and that trademark mischievous grin. But in 1974, a journalist revealed something to Jack that would change everything he thought he knew about himself. The woman Jack believed was his older sister was, in fact, his biological mother. And the woman he thought was his mother? She was his grandmother. It was a family cover-up straight out of a soap opera. Jack's mother, June, had gotten pregnant at just 17. In the 1930s, having a child out of wedlock was seen as scandalous, especially in a conservative family. So, the decision was made. June would pose as Jack's sister, while his grandmother, Ethel, would raise him as her own son. Jack lived 37 years before learning the truth, and by then, both women had already passed away. He never got the chance to ask why. Publicly, he shrugged it off with that classic Nicholson smirk. But privately, the revelation left him reeling. And the truth is, Jack wasn't the first star to live a family lie. Hollywood had been rewriting bloodlines long before he was born. Clark Gable and Loretta Young, the hidden baby. The year was 1935, and Clark Gable, the so-called King of Hollywood, was filming Call of the Wild alongside his co-star Loretta Young. Off-screen, sparks flew, and soon Loretta was facing an unplanned pregnancy. For a young Catholic actress under contract, this was nothing short of catastrophic. Disappearing from Hollywood for months, Loretta secretly gave birth to a baby girl. To cover the scandal, she placed the child in an orphanage, then later adopted her own daughter. For decades, the truth stayed buried. That daughter, Judy Lewis, grew up always feeling something was off. She looked suspiciously like Clark Gable down to his famous ears. At 7 years old, her ears were even pinned back surgically to make the resemblance less obvious. Imagine carrying that kind of secret, not knowing why your own reflection felt like a stranger. It wasn't until Judy was an adult that she uncovered the truth. Her father was Clark Gable, Hollywood royalty, who never once publicly acknowledged her. Loretta eventually admitted the story, but the damage had been done. Another child caught in Hollywood's obsession with keeping up appearances. And when the studios couldn't hide families, they sometimes rewrote entire identities. Merle Oberon, A Life Rewritten. Merle Oberon captivated audiences in Wuthering Heights with her beauty and grace. To the world, she was a sophisticated actress with aristocratic roots in Tasmania. But the story was a fabrication. In reality, Merle was born in Bombay, India, to a 14-year-old mother of mixed race. At a time when Hollywood demanded whiteness and polished backgrounds, her real heritage was considered unacceptable. So the studio stepped in. Records were destroyed in a conveniently timed fire. A new origin story was crafted, one that placed her in far-off Tasmania. Even her own mother was forced to pose as her maid to keep up the charade. Merle lived her life dodging questions, cameras, and even sunlight that might reveal her natural complexion. She underwent painful light treatments, desperate to maintain the illusion. Not even her husband knew the full truth. The result was a woman adored on screen, but lonely off it. Behind the glitz, she carried the crushing weight of a secret that erased who she really was. And sometimes, the secrets weren't just sad, they were explosive enough to ruin entire careers. Gloria Grahame, the Steps-On Scandal. Gloria Grahame was the sultry queen of film noir, with a voice that could melt ice and a stare that could kill. But her most shocking plot twist didn't happen on screen. It happened in her private life. In the late 1940s, Gloria married director Nicholas Ray. Their relationship was rocky, but the scandal that followed was jaw-dropping. Rumors spread that Nicholas had caught Gloria in bed with his teenage son, Tony, then just 13. The whispers never quite died. Years later, Gloria reunited with Tony, now an adult, and the two married in a secret ceremony. She was 37, he was 22. Overnight, Gloria went from respected actress to Hollywood pariah. Studios blacklisted her, gossip columns tore her apart, and her career flatlined. The marriage, surprisingly, lasted 14 years. Friends said Gloria wasn't a predator, but a deeply fragile woman, always searching for stability in the most unlikely places. Still, in the eyes of the public, she had crossed a line that could never be forgiven. But Gloria wasn't the only one punished for stepping outside the box. Sometimes, Even an affair was enough to turn America's sweetheart into its villain. Ingrid Bergman, from sweetheart to scandal. By the 1940s, Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood perfection. From Casablanca to the Bells of St. Mary's, she embodied purity, grace, and moral integrity. Audiences adored her. She was untouchable. Until 1949. While still married, Ingrid traveled to Italy to work with director Roberto Rossellini. They fell in love, and Ingrid became pregnant. The backlash was immediate and vicious. America, it seemed, could not handle its perfect star breaking the rules. The outrage reached such absurd heights that the United States Senate, yes, actual politicians, denounced her. Churches boycotted her films. Newspapers branded her a disgrace. Practically overnight, Ingrid went from Hollywood's most beloved actress to its most hated. But she didn't back down. She married Rossellini, had 3 children, and continued acting abroad. 7 years later, she returned to Hollywood, starred in Anastasia, and won an Academy Award. America, fickle as ever, forgave her. Because in Hollywood, if there's one thing audiences love more than a scandal, it's a comeback. Conclusion: the price of illusion. Looking back, the golden age of Hollywood wasn't golden at all. It was smoke and mirrors, carefully orchestrated to sell perfection. Marilyn Monroe, Rock Hudson, Jack Nicholson, Clark Gable, Merle Oberon, Gloria Graham, Ingrid Bergman. Each of them carried secrets heavy enough to shatter lives. Some hid trauma, others hid love. A few hid entire identities. All of them were sacrificed to an industry more concerned with image than truth. So the next time you watch a black and white classic, remember this: the real drama didn't happen on screen. It happened in whispered lies, secret children, rewritten pasts, and scandals the studios fought desperately to bury. Because behind the glitter, Hollywood's golden age was never about truth. It was about survival.